Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Persia, there lived a great king Shahryar, and he loved his wife more than anything. His greatest joy in life was to spoil her with the finest jewels and dresses money could buy. But this only made the discovery of her betrayal even worse. One day, returning to the castle, he saw her sleeping with another man. He killed them both immediately. After doing this, his mind collapsed on itself, and he became sad and bitter. He believed that all women were as vile and wicked as his wife was, and believed that the world would be better off with less of them in it. So he ordered his right-hand man, the Grand Vizier, to fetch him a new wife every day, only to have them killed the next morning. Unable to argue with the king, he went to find him a new wife. This continued on for many, many months, bringing the kingdom into despair. Until one day, a fiercely intelligent and beautiful girl had an idea, and her name was Shahrazad. She approached her father, who just so happened to be the Grand Vizier, and said, "Father, I have an idea. Tomorrow, you will marry me to the king." Her father couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. He says, "Daughter, are you crazy? Don't you know he'll just have you killed the next morning?" He says, "Father, do you not trust me?" "Of course I do, my beloved. And tomorrow afternoon, you will marry me to the king. You'll see. I'll save the kingdom." So the next morning, he walked her through the streets once filled with laughter and children playing. Now, only the tears of mothers and fathers mourning the loss of their daughters could be heard. The wedding came and went, and that night, she sat atop the king's bed of silk, and instead of lying down, began to tell him a story. And the story went on all night long, only to be stopped just before sunrise, just before the end of the story. The king, at first quite surprised that she began to tell him a story, but soon fell entranced with her words. And once she stopped, quickly grew to anger and demanded her to continue. But she said, "But Your Highness, the sun is awoken. Is it not time for me to die?" "I guess I could keep you alive for just one more day," said the king. This continued on for 1,001 Arabian Nights, where some stories such as Aladdin and Sinbad may come from, which some of you may know. And over the course of these 1,001 nights, the king's broken heart and bitter mind began to heal itself, and they soon began to fall in love, thus bringing peace and prosperity back to the kingdom. And so, storytelling can not only save your life, but also the lives of other people. Storytelling, otherwise known as oral history, is the coming together of people, whether it be sitting around a fire or the dinner table, sharing stories small or epic. It doesn't matter. The effect is still the same. Storytelling helps bring people together in the past, helped forming our earliest societies, where there would often be a village elder sharing stories and giving wisdom to the children and to the adults of the village. And this helped form our earliest religions that we still follow to this day. And storytelling is not a thing of the past. We still do it every single day. When we tell our parents or our friends about what we've been doing or what we got up to on the weekend, or whether it be posting a new picture on Instagram. And storytelling can be very beneficial for your health. Studies have shown that getting things off your chest and sharing with other people can greatly reduce anxiety and stress, and also help form stronger bonds between other people because there's a deeper connection being told. Joseph Campbell, American myth studyist, has a belief that all myths and stories, or at least most of them, follow a same cycle of the hero's journey, where the hero is living his life, then gets called to adventure, and is often, at first, unwelcoming to go on these quests, but will soon receive supernatural aid and go into the unknown, where he will face many challenges, but mentors will help guide him along the way. And then he'll hit rock bottom, where a mentor will die, or he himself will almost die, or literally die, only to come back to life, or get himself, put his boots back on and get up and keep going. Fight the good fight, and that way he will then defeat his enemies, overcome his goals, and receive the woman, the elixir, the great sword, whatever. Return home, and that's the end of the story of the hero's journey. But again, many stories don't follow this hero's journey. Such as this one story of a friend of ours used to say about a mango, just an everyday mango that you see. So when you see a mango, you see not just a simple fruit, but the product of the tree that's roots spread down deep, deep into the earth through the history of our planet, through the history of our lives, and reaches up into the sky and collects the sunlight from the sun and photosynthesizes the leaves, which is the energy of the future. And so from the history of our past and knowledge and from our future of the sun, all come together to condense one beautiful, simple fruit, which we all love to enjoy. This story changed my perspective of mangoes. And it's just kind of, you see them all the time. And so you see a mango, now I'm like, hey, like the future, the past, there's so much more to life. And so it's funny how some stories can really just affect you. So simple, so short, or grand stories. Some of them can just really affect you and change the rest of your life, which was the purpose of them. Like Aboriginals to this day have the oldest songs and stories that we still remember, where their stories sing about where to move to migrate and where to hunt certain animals at certain times of the year and when to migrate to new lands to collect the blooming fruits. And so their stories literally saved their lives and their children and their great-grandchildren and so on. Yeah. We're all living on the culturally rich and beautiful island of Bali, which is full of storytelling and magic. Whether you believe it or not, you don't really have a choice. You still have to celebrate Nyepi, and if you pee on a sacred rock, you're cursed. That's just the life we have to live. And for the life of the expat, the best way to get involved or to witness the storytelling that's so abundant here is to go to the ceremonies or the performances where they're all just renditions of old stories. And in Bali, one of my favorite stories is the battle of good and evil, of the Barong and the Rangda, the witch queen and the lion ox, god of good, and their constant battle balancing good and evil. And their story originates from Rangda, meaning widow, was this woman who had great spiritual power and soon became widowed. And instead of using her power for good and helping people, she had used it to terrorize the village and bring fear into the hearts of people, and which turned her heart cold and black and turned her into the witch queen Rangda, an embodiment of evil. But to counteract this, Empu Brada, if I'm saying it correctly, was the king's magician and was sent out to stop her. And so he was a white magician, a magician who studied the opposite, good magic. And so as a counteractment to her embodiment of evil, he had to become the embodiment of good, and thus became the Barong. And the two of them now constantly battle, and no one ever wins, which is kind of makes sense, because nothing can be entirely good or entirely evil forever. And so this story, which many of you may have been able to see, affects me a lot because, one of my greatest philosophies that I like to live my life by is that when times are hard or anything, that must mean good times are coming ahead. And when times are going really good and you're really happy and you're on top of everything, it's only natural for that to crumble and for it to fall back down into the dark hole that we all live in. And so this story, I feel, symbolizes that very strongly for me. And I've lived in Bali since I was 2 months old, and so Bali really is my home. And growing up here, technology has never been a very big present of my childhood growing up. Instead of sitting around playing video games, which mom wouldn't let me have, I would get up on my bicycle and ride around, discover the back alleys of Denpasar, which is not the safest thing to do, but extremely entertaining for children. And my dad gave me my first sword at the age of 7, so I used to go around, cutting down trees, pissing off all the neighbors. But yes, that led me to not really develop an attachment to technology so much. As many of you know, I'm a very social person. I love chatting to people. I love going out and doing things. But I really hate social media. I understand it's a fantastic platform, but I hate it. I recently deleted all of my social media accounts except for Facebook to make plans with friends. Thank you. But all of you have gone out to dinner, right? Well, have you ever looked around and realized that everyone's staring at their phone? Okay. You can hear the crickets in the background. Everyone's... My mom too. But yeah, or realize that you yourself hasn't spoken for the last 15 minutes because, you're also on your phone. Well, these gadgets in our pockets that, I've got my phone in my pocket, they give us so much, but they also come at a serious price, and they take a lot from us. And it's good to be mindful of, how much time you're spending on it and, how much time you could be talking to your parents, talking to your friends, hanging out. Sometimes when I come home and I want to talk to my mom or talk to my friends on the weekend, and it kind of feels like I'm talking to a brick wall, trying to play tug of war with their consciousness, bringing them back from their half-life in the social realm of the internet. And kind of have to smack them on the head with a stick to get their attention to have a half-decent conversation. But that's not all the time, of course. Everyone's a fantastic person, has many stories to tell. One of the ways that I've decided to combat this since I was very young is to go out on adventures. One of my favorite things to do is to go out and explore new places in Bali. Go explore places that, there's not full of tourists. I might have taken you some of these places, such as the Fountain of Youth that my friend Leland and I found whilst just going for exploring in his car, and found this small body of water full of lotus flowers, just in the middle of nowhere. This little rice farmer just lived next to this extremely beautiful site that just no one knows about. And so we were totally stoked to find this place. And sometimes we bring our friends down there, and right next to it actually was a small cave about this big, not too tall. You kind of have to squeeze through there, and it's pitch black, and it goes through a whole mountain. I'm not sure how old it is, hundreds, thousands of years, probably not, but still it's fun to think it is. And so, we'd walk around with our, little phone flashlights through the dark, terrified that bats or witches are gonna come and eat us. But still, it's the adventure of going out there and finding new and beautiful places. And these beautiful places, as many of you already know, aren't gonna be there forever. And it saddens me to go to these fantastic and beautiful places only to have people spending the whole time there taking pictures of themselves, taking pictures of the environment. Or when you go traveling to new places and you spend the whole time with the camera in front of your face, seeing things through a lens instead of through your own eyes. Because those places aren't gonna be there forever. When I go to beautiful places, I like to sort of meditate almost, just really be present within myself and enjoy the moment, breathe in the fresh, beautiful air, and then of course take a few pictures because it's beautiful, but to not make that the whole purpose of your journey, of to just be there. And that's the thing I've gotten most out of studying even further into storytelling and the beauty of adventuring, is that to really make use of your surroundings. Growing up in Bali, even some of you have only lived here for a few years, you can see how rapidly Canggu has changed. I was sitting at the beach, I think it was 2 years ago now, just sitting now waiting for my friends coming back from going for a swim, and I had this really immense deja vu feeling that wait a minute, something feels weird. And it was a memory of me coming to Canggu on the back of my friend's motorbike, my friend's dad's motorbike. He took us down from the Bukit to Canggu, this hot new surf spot that no one knows about. And we went there and went surfing for a little bit. I was about 6, so not really surfing. But, and the only thing there were 2 little shacks that sold jaffles and nasi goreng, and that was it, nothing else. And in the short years of I've only been here for 18 years, I've seen so much rapid change. I can't imagine how much some of you older people must have seen. And so for the younger people here and people my age, it's just to really appreciate the beauty that surrounds us every single day. Everywhere you go, there's beauty in the sky, in the clouds, in the trees, in the grass, in the air. And to walk away with the knowledge that you too can find happiness in the simple beauty of the world that we live in. Thank you.